love it.
Yeah. So we do have
Isn't that the song on the roof?
the program does state that they meet you after hours done. You guys are performed, but there were things that because of technical, which we're still having.
No problem, she told us
Technical-
it's gonna be rained.
Yeah, the technical difficulties were that we just put some videos, music videos at the end.
Right.
So when the cycles through those, then you guys can start playing. You play it.
Well,
I would like that if
is
people
that-
would dance.
Is that, we're not gonna do the last song, or what? What do you
I'm
say?
talking about after the
Oh.
whole presentation's over.
Oh, right, right,
It
right.
says in the program that you guys were going to continue.
Yeah, oh, we can, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody goes and mingles and.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we'll get
there's,
some exit music.
there's going to be some, that's where we added on some stuff that wasn't in the program.
Okay,
We just
cool.
didn't have room.
We just plan on doing that, don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
Timmy.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and
Support
would
right
you
here.
tell Becky to come in here?
To Becky, yes, they need Becky and I need
Yeah,
Alex.
she wanted to come
Becky.
to everybody that was.
I got
speaking.
Becky now.
Thank you, Lundy, I love you. The more I know her, the better I love her.
That's Paul's water.
Yeah,
Be happy.
I need a little practice on that.
Yeah. We know immediately she's going back to the Here she comes. Okay.
Yeah, we can add these on the end.
I know you were your own projects up because yeah, it's still, it's clean. It's sitting on the bar. We've got, coffee cups. No, you don't want mine? It's just, don't want these ceramic. It's just, yeah, it may be, I don't think. I think, as long as the inside's intact, that'll be You've been getting all of Jody's emails. Yeah, but, oh, she and I have been like, out there moving and stuff. Hey! I'll be right back. Yeah, and writing and sending it. Ordered that stuff online.
Can't go on land. Yeah, I take that road down further, and then we put a couple on the side there.
I wondered about that. Oh, wait. Okay, see, I know we're rated for 99 plus staff. Yeah. There's 20 credits. That's what I gave you. I had an extra one. I can't get it out. Russ, wait till the end of the season. Well, if there's 3 seats, that means I'll see.
gentlemen, we are ready to begin this glorious celebration of a woman of great light.
Welcome and thank you for coming. We are here to celebrate the remarkable life of Doobie Potter. Wife, mother, and friend, and so much more. Doobie occupied so much space in all of our lives because she did everything big. She loved big, all-encompassing love. She laughed big. Oh my goodness, how she made us laugh. And her generosity was huge. And I think back about her generosity to those early years of artworks in the 80s and 90s. And Doobie was always quick to recognize when a child came to camp hungry. So she would go out and buy groceries and deliver them to the family, and then invite the rest of us to chip in. And we were always privileged to do that, but it was Doobie who saw the need and fulfilled it. It was only really just a few weeks ago when we got to do that again with Doobie. She heard about a former student who needed some love. And so Doobie fulfilled that need in an extraordinary way and included Rhonda and me in it. And that's a wonderful memory to have. Even after all those years, Doobie was still helping those students. We're going to hear from others tonight who have their own stories. I know we all have stories about her. She was a writer. Weren't we the lucky ones to be part of Doobie's world?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I've had cataract surgery, so I can read now. Well, I'm wearing purple for Doobie.
Yay.
Yeah. I've been friends with Doobie and Joe and Tim since 1979, and I'm going to share with you. You can read along in your hymnal if you'd like. We don't call it an obituary. It's the story of her life, and I hope I got at least 90% of it correct. I was able to meet with Joe and Tim and talk about things and reminisce. And so hopefully there will be some things that you didn't know that you'll find out about our good friend. Before I get started, I did want to mention, those of you who've been coming recently to Carpenter Square, we opened season 41 recently. By the way, I'm Rhonda Clark, the artistic director here. We just opened season 41, and I must say, one of the reasons why we opened season 41 was because of Doobie. She fought, you know, we've had floods and fires and all kinds of crazy stuff. And she fought for us to stay open and keep going, and she's one of the reasons why we are still here. And we've dedicated season 41 to her memory. And if you come see a show, you'll be able to recognize that at the theater. Doobie was born in Flint, Michigan, and was preceded in death by her mother, Lillian Willette, and father, Rudolph Rudy Wurlitzer Waikiki. Waikiki Beach. It was really Waikiki to begin with. Doobie was proud of donating her father Rudy's music amp to the Country and Western Hall of Fame. You know, he was a musician, and he came to the mainland as part of a trio. She had some wonderful publicity photos of her father in his music group. Anyway, he taught Roy Acuff how to play steel guitar, Hawaiian steel guitar. And so she was able to donate his amp, and she was very proud of that. Doobie is survived by her husband, Joe Long, and son, Tim Doobie, D-U-B-I-E, as well as a sister, Cheryl, nieces, Jamie and Michelle, great-niece, Ashley, great-nephew, Kai. I'm sure there are more I am not mentioning, but those are at least part of her family in the Flint, Michigan area, or in Michigan mainly. Her family in Oklahoma includes sister-in-law Carla Young and nieces Lisa and Angela. And I know Carla is here with her brother Joe this evening. That's great. Doobie attended the University of Michigan, where she first became prop mistress and scrounger extraordinaire. Any of you at her coming direct at your theaters? She was a scrounger, and she made lots of friends while she was scrounging, because she would tell you all about what was going to happen with whatever you loaned her, and how it would be used. And she wouldn't take no for an answer. We know this. She moved with her son Timmy to California for a time, where she met and married Denny Potter, thus the last name Potter. You know, she decided at one point, I'm not changing my name anymore. And Joe understood that. She later met Reed Gilbert, a mime, author, minister, and professor, which led her to Valley Studio in Spring Green, Wisconsin. A beautiful place, too cold for me, but beautiful, beautiful place. Valley Studio was a creative mecca, really, and the home of the Wisconsin Mime Theater and School in the 1970s. And from there, she toured with her great friend, John Aiden. There is a small picture with him. She was his best man at his wedding. But most importantly, she met Joe there. He was in the mime company, and they became more closely acquainted in 1977. And in December 1978, Joe and Doobie and Tim moved to Oklahoma. Joe grew up in Ardmore, and so they came to Oklahoma and first landed in Norman. And Doobie and Joe married on April 2nd, 1982 in Norman, Oklahoma, at a very small ceremony. Tim and I were there. It really happened. Every once in a while, someone will say, are Joe and Doobie married? Yes. And I was there. I saw it, and I heard them take their vows. In 1980, Doobie became an artist in residence, affiliated with the Oklahoma Arts Council's program, and Julie and Molly O'Connor are going to be able to talk more about that. And of course, that program serves schools and communities across the state, especially in the 80s and 90s. And that's when Doobie's mercurial, infectious energy began to touch thousands of students and teachers in Oklahoma. In 1982, she, along with husband Joe and myself, formed ZAP, the Zany Arts Players, and we toured Commedia dell'arte style plays, parks and community centers, libraries, festivals. We toured all over, and did that until it was hard to get up and down. That's the truth. And also, at one time we wore masks, and there came a point where we looked over at Joe, and it's like, Joe, your brown mustache on your mask doesn't match your beard. These were half masks. Anyway, we finally put that to bed. They also formed another company, the Prime Mime Time Players, with good friend, I've lost my place here, so I'm searching. Oh, yeah. With Craig Sylvie, who is no longer with us. But that was another high-energy touring company, and they toured all over as well, including other circus techniques, more so than juggling and all sorts of things. And one thing I didn't mention that was so fun about Zap, Doobie inherited a 1946 Chevy pickup after her dad passed. And we took that pickup and painted it in sherbet colors, raspberry and pale orange and blue, so some of her favorite colors and my favorite colors. And Joe built 2 acting areas, and it was fun. We'd pull up, boom, 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 and be able to start performing. That was a great time. In 1987, Doobie joined the Faculty of Artworks that Becky mentioned. That's an arts day camp where she and I taught together. We sort of team taught for over 30 summers. Bravo.
Yeah.
And I know some other members of the Artworks, former Artworks family are here. We made lifelong friends with the faculty, and we still have students. There's some students that came up and said, Rhonda, to me today, that have come to celebrate Doobie, that we met and she touched at Artworks. Over the years, Doobie performed and directed for Carpenter Square Theatre and served as the board president for a number of years. Rick Lippert finally took up the mantle, and she directed shows all over the state, most notably in Ardmore, Muskogee, Ponca City. I know we've got folks from Ponca City and Muskogee here today. Yes. And Elk City. Yes. Of course, Oklahoma City and Guthrie. And she also served on the board of the Oklahoma Community Theater Association for many years. And one of the last things she did before she headed to Arizona for treatment was make sure that I had confirmed with the Octa folks that they could hold their conference here coming up in November. I said, yes, 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 that's going to happen. She was especially proud of a production of hers, the heartwarming play Over the River and Through the Woods, and I know at least a couple of cast members are here today from that. It first performed at Carpenter Square and later received accolades at several levels of community theater competition, and ultimately they entertained the troops in Germany in 2001, flying over the day after 9/11. Crazy times, but they were able to bring some joy to the troops. One of the most important facets of Doobie's life was her spiritual study. In 1982, she and Joe began attending the Lotus Center, now called the Christ Center, and I have a little connection there. I was good friends with Brett Mitchell, which I'm sure you all know, and he took me to the Lotus Center a few times, and I thought, well, I don't know that this is for me, but I think Doobie and Joe would really like this place. And they started attending and they studied meditation with Audley Allison. And in 2004, they met Swami Paramahansa Nityananda. Did I say that okay, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. And they became teachers for him in 2005. Doobie and Joe took at least 2 trips to India together, and then she continued to take trips, but they took trips to learn more spiritually, but also to just learn about the culture. And, you know, she made friends so easily, we know that. So she developed friends over there that she would go back visit, and they would arrange and do things together. And when they came to the States, they would get together, some of those folks. One of the last trips that Doobie and Joe took together was to see Amma, known as the hugging guru. Doesn't that sound nice? And to quote Amma, "The world should know that a life inspired by love and service to humanity is possible." I think that describes our beloved Doobie. As Becky said, wife, mother, friend, artist, teacher, mentor, and so much more. She's served in so many ways and spread love and that infectious laughter that we all know wherever she went. Doobie, your memory is truly a blessing.
I'm really honored to be here today with all of you to honor the memory of Doobie Potter. I first met Doobie in 2003 through Carpenter Square. I had heard about Doobie Potter and her work before that, but it was when I was cast in Comic Potential in 2003, which was Ron Martin's last show to direct, that I met Doobie. Ron was generous. He gave me a break in this show. I think that maybe he didn't have enough people show up to the auditions. But I got to portray one of the robots in this play about the future of TV and how they had decided in the future to not have actors and just to have robots play the parts in this soap opera. Ron was, I think, tickled by the fact that I wanted this part so badly. And one day he brought into the studio Doobie Potter and had her work with myself and the other robot to help us perfect our robot mannerisms and movements. I think the first word that came to mind when I met Doobie was spunk. She just vibrated energy, and immediately we got to work, and she taught us how to do the robot hands, the robot walk, everything, the robot faces. And I took this so seriously that I didn't even realize half the time that I was practicing the robot in places like the grocery store or work. And I remember being at work one day, and my friend at work said, "You're doing it again." Doing the robot. When I started working at the State Arts Council not long after that, it was then that I really understood that Doobie was much more across the state than just the work that she was doing here in Oklahoma City through artworks and through the theater here. It was then that I began to read grant applications and see the photographs of the work she was doing all over Oklahoma, Muskogee, Ardmore, Bartlesville, and I think one thing that still sits with me is just that she had so much energy and love and enthusiasm. I feel like the last time I saw her, I thought, does this woman even age? Because she just carried that brightness with her wherever she went. And I know that she took that into those classrooms, into those theaters, where she shared that with so many. And in a state like Oklahoma, people who are doing that work as teaching artists are truly missionaries. I have the privilege in my work to often hear stories about how the arts have changed lives. I think that's a common agreement many of us have. But I also have the opportunity to hear stories from people who have told me that the arts have saved their lives. And when I think about the work that Doobie did across our state in so many of these communities where there may not be a theater, there may not be an arts council, but she found a way to reach people. She found a way to give youth something to hope for, to help them find their voice, and to realize how important it is to express themselves. I don't know if she ever really understood just how much she changed lives, but that she probably saved many lives along the way. And so as I join you here today in memory of our friend Doobie Potter, I want to just express to you, Joe and Tim, all of her family members, that on behalf of the Oklahoma Arts Council, our staff and our board members, our heartfelt condolences go out to you. We know that Doobie gave so many of her talent and time and love and service to so many, and we know that that will last many, many years. Thank you for letting me be here today.
Rhonda warned me of that lip. So I'm going to do this speech and then try not to trip on the way back down.
We'll help you.
We'll help me. Thank you. Hi, my name is Julie. Quite a few of you know me. Some of you may even remember me. But I'm really sure that there's quite a few who have absolutely no idea who I am. But that's okay, because I'm here to start from the beginning. Now, Rhonda said that Joe and Doobie got here in December of 1998.
No, 78.
78, I'm sorry, 78, you're right, 78. Well, I met them in January of 1979. I think it was even the first week. We met, I had just returned to Oklahoma after finishing university, and they had just moved here after studying at the Valley Studio in Wisconsin. And we were auditioning for a new acting troupe that was being sponsored by the Oklahoma City Arts Council and being funded by the federal CETA program. Now, this was a time when the U.S. government was being run by the Democrats, and they still gave a crap about the arts. Anyway, well, these auditions were being held in the Arena Theater of OTC, so you can tell how old I am. I still call it OTC. And it was freezing in that morning because somebody had forgotten to turn on the heat. Doobie was sitting on the floor of the stage, wrapped up in this huge sweater, and she was wearing baby pink leg warmers. So, she looked up at me. I'm walking in my flimsy wraparound dance skirt, and she says to me, "Girl, you need to learn how to dress for the cold." And then she laughed. Her big, glorious laugh. And boy, I was hooked. I was hooked. Anyway, the three of us, me, Doobie, and Joe, we were cast with 6 other people for this troupe. It's called the Artist Resident Team, Art Inc. And we performed in the schools, shopping malls, theater, festivals, community centers throughout that year. Anywhere they'd let us come in and do our shows, we would do them. Now, Doobie, Joe, and I, plus a guy named Steve Colmorgan, I don't know if he's here or not, but I know he lives in the city. I mean, I know he's in the States still. We created a Punch and Judy show that was particularly fun for the 3 of us. Joe was Punch. I was Judy. Steve was the devil. And Doobie was the baby. Now, this skit had lots of comedian and lots of slapstick, right? And Doobie, she took every opportunity to scream, leap up into my arms, suck on this giant calf bottle that she had, and of course, steal every scene. You know, she could even save the day by conking the devil over the head with that same bottle. She just, and it was over, right? It was so much fun. Anyway, we did it all over the city. So then when our gig with Art Inc. was just starting to wind down, Doobie and I were looking for something else to do, and we decided to look at the State Arts Council, to that Artist in Residence program. And we were shocked to find out that although there were many fine artists, musicians, poets, creative writers, that there was not one single theater artist or creative drama artist in that Artist in Residence program. Not a single one. Not a single one on that roster. So in typical Doobie fashion, she looked at me and she said, "Well, we'll just have to be the first." So that's what we did. We began to organize a campaign, and we opened up those audition processes, and we wanted them to include creative drama as a program in the Artist in Residence program. And ultimately, that's what they did. Doobie and I became the first Artist in Residence creative drama people in this state that year. Our first... So here it is. Our first contract was in Ardmore. Thank God Joe's mother, Mildred, lived there. At least we had a place to stay. And I'll tell you, Doobie and I took that town by storm. They had no idea what was going to get them. But it was wonderful. We created this bond, driving back and forth every week, chattering on about what was going to happen, what we were going to do, how we were going to help these kids, how we were going to help them, how we were going to help the community theater, how we were going to help the junior highs, how we were going to do that. It just was rolling like that. It was amazing to me and to her, the whole creation of that format, you know. And this format that we started to create became this basis for what Doobie continued to do and develop over those next 40 years. And that's what so many of you have benefited from her since then. It's that passion of hers to teach, her enthusiasm, her energy, and her stamina, which most of us could not match. And that's how come she's become one of the driving forces for this whole statewide arts program that you guys have had all these years. Now, I left Oklahoma after about 3 years. I guess I couldn't take it. I went on to go to graduate school and move on to various other places and things and do it. But I always came back to Oklahoma to visit my family. But the first phone call I made when I came back was Doobie. I would call her and say, "What's up?" And she would say, "Okay, glad you're back. I've got this, I'm busy, but no matter how busy she was, she always made time for me. We'd go out to lunch, we'd go out to breakfast, she'd catch me up on this, she'd fill me in on that, she'd take me to this show, she'd take me to these rehearsals. One time, she didn't have any time for me at all, but she said, "Hey, I'm doing this show out in Muskogee. Why don't you just come with me? You know, just get in the car, we'll talk all the way down there, you can come and see the rehearsal. You can even give my cast some notes. They need some notes. So give them some notes. And then we'll go back." You know? And it felt like old times. It was just amazing. So you know what? Even though most of you don't know me, I know a lot about all of you. I know a lot. But mostly what I know is that she loved all of you. She loved you. And that part of hers was just as big as her laugh. So she loved you. And I love you too. You're right, that's not, once you can't see.
So Rick, we're going to do the video now. We're leaving the program order for a bit. Whatever.
I told her about how when something gets stuck, it vibrates and shakes. Yeah. It tells them where the insect is or the bug is.
Look at, they showed a rocket ship and a robot and an animal. Do you want to open those up here too? Or wait till you get home since you know what to do?
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old past said. Boy, you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me.
My tea's gone cold, I'm wondering why I got out of bed at all. The morning rain clouds up my window, and I can't see it all. And even if I could, I'll be great. But your picture on my wall, it reminds me that it's not so bad, it's not so bad. Drank too much last night, got bills to pay. My head just feels in pain. I miss the bus and
Here you come again, just when I've begun to get myself together. You waltz right in the door, just like you've done before, and wrap my heart round your little finger. Here you come again, just when I'm about to make it work without you. You look into my eyes and lie those big lies, and pretty soon I'm wondering how I came to die.
Don't look back to the days you cannot live on in the past.
can't say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time. And who can say where love grows, as your heart shows, only time.
on a dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay. I've had nothing to live for. Look like nothing's gonna come my way. So I'm just on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
When I feel like a petal float in the breeze, when I feel like a speck inside an endless field,
when streams are ripe and swelled with rain, may she will stay, resting in my arms again. Every morning you greet me, small and white, clean and bright. You look happy to meet me.
there were bells on the hill, but I never heard them ringing. No, I never heard them at all, till there was you. There were birds in the sky, but I never saw them ringing. No, I never saw them at all, till there was you.
Sometimes I'm tired and I wonder what's so awful and important about being someplace at some time. Whoa, I don't really mind, 'cause I could be on easy street, and I know that you got to take the bitter with the sweet. I guess it gets to everyone. You think you're not having any fun, and you wonder what you're doing, playing the games you play. Hey, well, it's true what they say. If you wanna feel complete, you know that you got to take the bitter with the sweet.
They say that all good things must end someday. Autumn leaves must fall. But don't you know that it hurts me so to say goodbye to you? Wish you didn't have to go. No, 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 no. And when the rain beats against my window pane, I summer days again and dream of you, and dream of you.
Hi, that's always a hard act to follow. My name's Ruby Tingle, and I don't want to forget anything. Doobie and Joe walked into my Korea class at the Lotus Center around 1982, right into my heart to permanent residence. They have been just such amazing friends to me through the years. Doobie and I went to Hawaii together in '83 because my brother-in-law was tower commander there at Barbara Point One. So we had a free place to stay for 3 weeks. And
Excuse me, Julie?
Ruby,
Ruby, it doesn't matter. You're not talking into the microphone.
I'm sorry. And that guy is the one that did what you just watched. Big shout out to you. And while we were over there, you know, Doobie's dad was Hawaiian, and she found a lady in Honolulu. Everybody called her Auntie Alice. She was 106 years old and knew Doobie's dad when he was a little boy. And she talked to her for about an hour and a half, really, really enjoyed that. Doobie and Joe have been so close in my heart and in my life. When I married my third husband, they came down in 2008 to Austin and performed the ceremony. And then when Johnny died, 4 months later, they came down for 3 days to comfort me so I wouldn't just stay curled up in a little ball and cry. And that's the kind of friend that Doobie is. She's certainly a sister of my heart. I didn't really realize how sick she was until I spent the night with her at OU. And before we get ready to leave, she said, "We're going to Arizona." I said, "Doobie, I'm the best one to do this with you." She said, "Yes." I said, "I promise I will be there for your last breath." And I was, and it was my privilege to walk my sister home. And she and I had this conversation about why they're not here, because she was receiving alternative treatment at a clinic there. And as long as she was getting treatment, she wasn't in hospice. Now here's where you have to remember that Doobie had just watched 3 wonderful friends die. Naomi was the last. And it hurt her heart so much to see Naomi just fade away, as well as Virginia and Layla. And she did not want to do that to anybody. She didn't mind doing it, and she didn't mind breaking my heart, because she knows how much I am and how much I love her. So it was good for me to be there. Besides, I've been an RN for over 50 years, and I've done hospice off and on in between critical care gigs. So it was very beautiful that Joe and Doobie and Carl and I went to see Alma in August the 19th through the 22nd. She was up, she was walking around, she was a little uncomfortable, she didn't complain much, and then a month later she was gone. Carl and I drove up to Phoenix. I was in there for the long haul. Carl took his prayer pipe, and you know, Doobie was a very spiritual being of light, and we enjoyed praying with Carl and the pipe. It brought her a lot of comfort. I would sleep on the couch at night, and because she was getting weaker, we were barely controlling the pain, and I had asked her why she didn't want to be home when she could, and she just said, "I love them all so much. I want to be remembered alive and vibrant so I really respected that. Plus, she knew there would be 15 people around her bedside, and she just didn't, you know, have enough energy to be up for everybody and always serving like she did. She did fight till the last breath. I've been a hospice nurse, you know, over 40 years, and I just never saw anybody fight so hard to live. She was very surprised that she was dying and doubted it to the very end, but she never gave up hope. It was, you know, it was just a fight. She told the doctor at that clinic, she said, well, I'm from Flint, Michigan, and the women there are known for two things, dancing and fighting. And I'm gonna fight this. And then she danced her way to the stars. And so, Joe and I were there for the whole 4 weeks. And I have to say, Joe really stepped up to the plate. If Doobie even thought she wanted something, he had it right there. And we were both up all hours of the night as she got weaker and weaker. But all of the text and the love and thoughts that were flowing her way, she got every one of them. A few weeks before, about 10 days, she sort of went silent. I think she was in pain, but she was very stoic about it. I saw on the side of Doobie, I didn't know with the stubbornness and the stoicness, but boy, it was just so tough. She didn't complain. She kept her humor till the last. And so she didn't want to talk about death, and she wouldn't let me cry. She said, you can't cry, because if you cry, I'll cry. And I don't cry. Okay. So I just did that in the shower. But anyway, she had so much to do. She really wasn't ready to die. She didn't want to go. And so as a hospice nurse, I was trying to introduce the thought, you know, going to the other side, the transition. I said, Doobie, who are you going to hug first? Audley or Babaji or Yogananda? Or she said, Rupa. And I thought, Rupa? Did she study with somebody I didn't know about? I said, Rupa? Who's Rupa? She said, group hug. She could just hardly talk there. And so Tim and I were standing at the foot of her bed that night about 5 hours before she finally transitioned. And we're just looking at her with a lot of love, and a lot of love is going back and forth. We read a lot of texts that people sent. I took a picture of her, and from the foot of her bed, she had this beautiful prayer shawl on. And I said, Doobie, wave at the camera, and she went like that, and that was waving hello and goodbye. So we had a little fun with that. So Tim and I are standing there, and I said, Tim, I don't know what else to do. I balanced her chakras. I anointed them with oil, frankincense, sandalwood, and myrrh. I chanted to her for an hour. I meditated up to Ison with her. And she still doesn't want to go. And I leaned down in her ear and I said, Doobie, you're dying. It's time to let go and go to the other side. She's going, She just had so much to do. And so it's hard to tell her goodbye. It's hard to be in a world without Doobie, but she's right in my heart where she's always been. And as her full little ship with its great billowing sails we see her going over her horizon there, and there are so many eyes and voices here saying, there she goes. On the other side, there's a lot of voices and eyes going, here she comes.
So many things. They fill so many things. They fill catalogs in my mind. Many of such import. So many that to choose a few doesn't do justice to so much of me, breathed into me by so much of her son. My mother taught me how to capture darkness, how to capture light, how to let go in catharsis from that capture. She managed this once in one day with me, a curious child of 8, in the brilliance of a spring afternoon in Wisconsin, driving in ascension, the curvy glacier-carved mountains into the heart of the sunrise, into the twilight tonight, into the fragile of yes, which you will hear at the end of these presentations, to the dark side of the moon, Pink Floyd. And when she inserted the first one of those two clunky, boxy, big 8-track tapes that day to and from our destination, she changed me. My first epiphany, if you will. From there, and then, to here, and now. This is mine. This is her great gig in the sky. This is now yours as well. Do you want to know all that one experiences before, during, and after someone's last breath? If you want to know a son is witness to a mother forever, more and no more. If you want to feel me feeling her, then this song says it all without saying anything at all. The agony, the ecstasy, the purgatory between, the final release. have to speak for that long. So many things I've written over the last 3 days, mostly discarded because we could not do what needed to be done here. I became impelled to reach back a little further, but only with time to paraphrase with no rewrite. I remain silent in the stillness of you. This is some of her. Joe told me this was all of her, and it turns out that mostly she was light. This is actually an urn. I remain silent in the stillness of you. Now, I hold the space for you in this moment without end. I hold this space without boundaries so that it holds. Holds your family, your loved ones, those who loved you, so that it holds me. The emptiness of that space may seem to only fill with sorrow now. I would choose to empty that sadness with celebration. Celebration of who you were. Celebration of what is still the spirit of you now. Celebration of how it lives on in the memories of those you've touched so deeply and loved so fiercely. Celebration of the family in which you shall always remain. You shall always remain the center of quiet stillness, a stillness that radiates upward motion in those close to you. I remain silent in the stillness of you now. A meme I made on Facebook for Mother's Day, I don't remember how many years ago. A quote from Dorothy Campbell Fisher: "Will always remain supremely, inexorably relevant. A mother is not a person to lean on, but a person to make leaning unnecessary. Without the strength of independent spirit she imparted to me, I surely wouldn't survive this ordeal, its trials and tribulations, even remotely intact. I can attest without hesitation to this. The day before her last breath, I sketched some thoughts for people, but of course for me as well. Some, very little, of that is what follows. I would not be able to read all of it, obviously. This has become somewhat of a mantra for me, in substantive enough form. The peace arising out of acceptance, acceptance distinct from agreement, is its own form and function of healing, necessary for any healing, irrespective of outcome. Perchance to dream a dream of smooth transition into liberation from the agonies persisting upon her, a dream we all may dream and populate together. So, you need a James Earl Jones or a Lawrence Fishburne or a Morgan Freeman, but certainly you need a Coleman Domingo to command what follows. But I need an Al Bostic.
Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say, we end the heartaches and 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. To sleep chance to dream. Aye. There's the rub. Yes, Doobie, Doobie, Doobie. My name is Al Bostic. There are so many things I want to say about Doobie, but the one thing I really want to say is that there are not many people who come into your life and your world becomes exclusively brighter. Doobie was light. She was light, she was love, and she was laughter. So much so that whenever my phone rang and I heard, "What are you doing?" I knew this was going to be a Doobie and Al adventure. Because Doobie acted as my chauffeur, sometimes my enabler. I'm a diabetic. But Doobie would call me up on the phone. She said, "Al, go to your front door." Okay. I go to the door, there would be a bag. And she knows I like cronuts. Now, for those of you who don't know what cronuts are, that's a cross between a croissant and a donut. And I would open the bag, and I'm looking at it, Doobie, there's one that's a half. She said, "I know." The other thing about Doobie is there's a telephone, there's a television, and there's a tele-Doobie. If you don't want anything to be known, don't tell Doobie. I mean, I would be in a store, and before long, Doobie has told the clerk everything about me that needs to be told. And she had this wicked sense of humor. Now, you know, I know about Ardmore. Ardmore and Norman and those places were sundown towns. I'm standing in a hardware store, and this older gentleman comes up and he's talking to me, you know, and he's doing the Okie dialect and the whole bit. And Doobie introduced me as her husband. I said, "Doobie, we can play hung for things like this." You know, and all I could do was laugh. And she would laugh because you see that twinkle in her eye and you know she's getting ready to do something that she got no business doing. Well, you know, and of course, when she told me that she was ill, I just told her, I said, "Well, you know, Doobie, you're a fighter. And we don't know how long we have, but I know you're going to fight every step of the way. And I am a spiritual person as well. I don't have any one church, and so when I listen to Doobie talk, you know, we have conversations about spirituality. And I would say to her, you're not going to be gone, you're merely going to transition to a higher plane so that you can look down on the rest of us. You know, and that's the way I look at her. So I don't say that Doobie is gone or that Doobie is a memory. I say Doobie is Doobie, and she is still here. She's with us, and I believe that because I was sitting on my porch, and I was thinking of her, and I started to tear up. And I kid you not, a flock of sparrows flew close enough for me to touch them. And then one of them landed at my feet and looked up at me and then took off. And so I started doing some research, and because I'm a storyteller and I like mythology and all that. And I found out that in the Buddhist religion, sparrows and those kinds of birds, because in our religion, in African American ancestor worship, cardinals are the ones that come back and let us know that they're okay. But in the Buddhist religion, I found out that it's the sparrow who comes back and lets you know that she's okay. So I always say that she has shed the chrysalis of pain, and like a butterfly, she is soaring. So when you think of Doobie, don't cry, smile, and remember all of the wonderful things that she left down here for us. Doobie was the most generous person that I'd ever known. And so even the homeless people, you know, she would stop and she'd give them donations. Doobie would call me up. One night she called me up because she had a mattress. And she said, I need you to ride with me downtown under the bridge. So and I'm thinking, oh Lord, we're gonna get mugged. But we had to deliver that mattress. And you know, these two people came out of the shadows and they gratefully received this mattress. There was another young man that we always would see, and we know that he is on the spectrum. And Doobie went and bought long johns for him for the winter, and we drove down and we didn't see him. So Doobie said to me, here, I'm gonna leave these with you, and when you see him, you give him these long johns. So she called me every other day to find out if I'd seen this. Doobie, I haven't seen this man. And so she called me up and she says, Al, what? What, Doobie? I see him. I'm coming to get those long johns. And she came to the long johns, and I was with her, and he didn't want to take them from her because, again, that spectrum, you know, they're a little antsy and weary of you. But Doobie made it a point to make sure that he got those things for that winter. Another one of our homeless friends, David, he calls me the professor because he laughingly says that I was his, I'm his life coach. And he always asks me whenever I would see him, how's Doobie doing? I said, you know, she's absolutely fine. And I saw him on the bus the other day, and I told him that Doobie was ill, and he told me that if and when I saw her, to make sure to let her know how much she meant to him. So I know she means all of this to all of you, and there are other people out there in this world like that homeless population. She even means more to them. So the last thing that I'm going to say about her is I was in several plays with Doobie. Probably my favorite of all times was The Midsummer Night's Dream. And Doobie, I was her Oberon, and she was my Puck. And Doobie was absolutely stunning in this production. And she, you know, the energy that she brought to that role and the joy, she made up her costume, and we were riding up to Edmond to do it at Hafer Park. So there we are in this fairy makeup, and her greatest joy was to look over at other people's cars. You know, and I'm looking on the other side, and so we played this out, you know, the whole bit, that role. And so we did this show in Hafer Park. So before you go, the last thing I'm going to do for you is Puck's final speech from Midsummer Night's Dream, because I think it so embodies Doobie. If we shadows have offended, think but this and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here while the visions did appear. And this week in idle theme, no more yielding but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend. And as I am an honest Puck, or Doobie, if we have unwavered luck, now to escape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long, else the Puck a liar call. So good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends. And Doobie and Oberon and Al and all her friends will restore amends.
Thank you all for sharing your memories. Doobie and Rhonda and I used to travel a lot together, and at the end of a trip, Doobie never said goodbye. She just grabbed her suitcase and slipped away, walked away, but she left us with all these wonderful memories. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to hold these memories dear, and keep Doobie's love and laughter alive in our hearts. So now we got a red nose photo to take.
Yeah.
And then after that, please come to the reception. Joe and Timmy invite you to the reception to share more memories and to enjoy being together.
Are you gonna pass those out, Wendy?
Yeah, I have helpers. Morgan and Leela and Molly. And Rose. You get a seat? Okay.
Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. It's alright. Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. It's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold and lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since you've been here. Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Little darling, the smile will return to the faces now. Little darling, it seems like years since you've been here. Little darling, it's been a long, cold winter. Little darling, it seems like years since you've been here.
Get away.
We're gonna do a group picture, so have a seat if you will. Hello, if you'll have a seat for a minute, we're gonna do a group picture with all of these red noses, yes? So, my name is Lundy, and I met Doobie because Tim brought me home and said, here's my parents. And I said, oh, where's your kitchen table? And a lot of other things, including going to the bathroom in intermission of our movie and calling my best friend and telling him that I thought my new love was maybe a product of her father's. Okay, in the mic. Okay. So anyway, I sent a little message to another young lady who is mourning the death of her grandmother. And I wrote to her, I said, sweetheart, if you need anything at all, please call. I said, I'm shrouded in the darkness that seems to exist nowhere to be found. Doobie was our light. She was a beat. A feat, you know, like a full feature? Yeah. She was like that Ballin', you know, like another one, the intro to another one bites the dust. Yeah, that she was all that. And so, yeah, my girl was like a shark. Sometimes I thought she was a barracuda. But she was from Flint, and she had this aroma about her. And so for me, she became my extra mom. And I was really lucky, because it's the mom you always wanted, right? It's a red nose. So when I met her, I told her, I said, you know, I used to be afraid of clowns. And actually what I did when I had kids is I would put a red nose on, and they wouldn't know what would happen. If they saw Mama with the red nose, it was called the power of the red nose. Anything could happen. One night at the dinner table, I brought peaches, and I said, wait a minute, there's whipped cream, let me go get it. And I'm in the refrigerator, and I'm tossing things out the refrigerator, and here it is. And I bring the whipped cream out, but I have a red nose. And my husband, he left the table. He left. And the girls and I sat that and through with cream. The only other thing I really want to say is that when I had the privilege to take Tim and I to take Doobie and Joe to the airport to go to Arizona, I keep a red nose in my car. And I'm going to encourage you guys to put your red nose in your car because you can encourage people with happiness and joy anywhere. And she would love that. So anyway, there's a shot in the pictures where she's smiling, you know, and there's my little face that's like, Doobie, a selfie. This is on her way to Arizona. And she's like, yeah. So I get out of the car and I walk around and I present her with my red nose and I put it on her and she says, we got to do the picture over. And I said, no, you got to go on this plane, honey. She took the red nose with her. So you all have red noses and may the power of the red nose and Doobie Potter live in you forevermore. Refreshments and some food, and we have some saris.
We want to get a picture. With
and we're on the picture. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Rick.
Right here.
Awesome. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to come back.
All right. Notices on. This will be a panoramic picture, so bear with me. I want to make sure I get everybody in here.
Turn it sideways so you can get it.
Noses on and big smile. One more. That's one. Everyone with their arms up. Hey! Love it.
Well, 4 years, 4 more years.
They tried. They tried.
Oh, the one, yeah.